Hey folks, so we're live. Folks, what's up? Check it out. We're live. This is DGL7, and today I have another mayoral candidate that I'm actually interviewing. As you know, I've interviewed candidates all over the nation, and I've also had the only independent third party candidate interviews for the 21 debates for the 21 election cycle. And in this cycle, we've already done a couple things, such as with public housing. We've done things with higher education. I'm quite excited about this candidate, though. We have a similar background in many ways and similar perspectives and positions on a lot of issues. So we're going to see where this goes. But just for the people that are, why don't you just introduce yourself to my audience? Go ahead.
My name is Mayor Dr. Kris, Juanita Bynum, Mariah Carey, Kendra G. Lord. I've put the women's names in my name, who I believe that I most identify with. I worship these women. They are the reason for my success, and they're the reason why I'm going to be here to help the people. If you want anything done, talk to these ladies. They are the ones who can control me.
That's interesting. This is a brand new. I said we had a lot of perspectives. That's not a perspective that we share, but I'm interested in finding out more. Right? Yeah. You're
Absolutely.
gonna
Ask
you're gonna find
away.
out more about what Dr. Kris Lord. That's probably the easiest way to find her. But there's the other names that she inserted as well as the title of mayor. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, right now, I believe that you are I looked at your website, and it says that you're Republican, and you said that you are in the. Have you successfully made it to the primary for this cycle?
Yes, I have made it to the primary. My name will be included on the ballot. The Board of Elections has permitted it to be so.
Okay, yeah, I have actually looked at your I have looked at your Ballotpedia rating, and you have actually run several times before that Ballotpedia has a record of. So that's you have some experience running, which is cool. Now the thing is that I recently did you know, had a show where I actually, I even on my Facebook page, right on the DO7 Facebook Internet Activist page, I also posted a PDF of all the different challenges that happen to different people's ballot petition applications. And there's a lot of establishment players that are actually challenging all the small candidates. So how did you successfully, first of all, getting 4,000 signatures, I think, which is necessarily, or was it 2,000, but you got to get a lot of signatures. I mean, good thing you've run before, so you may have some type of experience at getting signatures or networks or relationships. How were you able to get all those signatures for mayor? Because a lot of people were unable to get it.
That's correct. I used a little known idea that the ladies gave me. I'm telling you, that's why I owe everything to them. Dr. Juanita Bynum, Dr. Mariah Carey, Dr. Kendra G. What happened is that when I went to the Board of Elections office, I came there not just with the designating petition of signatures, but I came there, hello, 12 bells, I came there with the Holy Bible, my birth certificate, a an image of two time-stamped images of the universe, including the sun, using the Stellarium app. And I also came there with a certificate that I had obtained from the New York City Police Department for being a civilian, for getting like a civilian award for civil service. So
Okay.
what happened is when I brought those extra items with me, the Board of Elections said that those documents are not election documents. But the key document that they said was not an election document that brought me over the top for my idea was that they said that the birth certificate was not an election document. And this is profound because in order for me to say that the signatures on my uh, petition are Republican and are registered voters, I need to establish my signature first. And my signature being Kris, whatever is whatever I sign it, I want them to know that I'm a registered Republican voter. And the reason why I'm a registered Republican voter is because my birth certificate says that I was born in the United States of America, and I meet the standard for being a registered voter. But what happened is that they rejected that document. And I have proof that they rejected it because they stamped it with their timestamp, which means that not only do they not care whether or not, this is the funny thing, this is something people didn't know, but now you're knowing. The Board of Elections do not care if you are a New York resident or if you are a U.S. citizen before they take your signature. They do not care. They never did. The ones who care are the people who object to the petitions. But besides that, the Board of Elections does not care. So what
Okay.
that means is that when I wrote when I filled out the form, I was the only one who filled out my form for the petition. And basically, what that means is that any number of signatures that I placed on that form for myself represent the total number of signatures necessary for, for fulfilling the petition's requirements. So the total number of
Okay, that's
signatures,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
the total number of signatures I chose were the atoms. The atoms that make up the ink, that make up.
Okay. I see that you've run on Ballotpedia for governor before. You've run for president before, or you've at least entertained the idea of it before. I'm not sure if now you believe that you'll be showing up on the ballot with the paperwork that you submitted. It's possible you will. It's possible you might not. We're gonna
No, it's
see what.
possible that I will for sure. They've already sent me the Board of Elections have already sent me that the what do you call it, the paperwork showing me that my name in different, my Kris A. Lord is going to be on the ballot.
Okay.
So they already sent me the different translations, like Korean and Japanese and Chinese, all the different translations that are going to be Bengali. I think they sent me.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're also on the now. I think that the so we'll see where that ends up, right? This is actually interesting because I haven't seen you on any of the challenges or stuff like that, even though I saw a lot of other petitions being challenged. So we're gonna see. Maybe they didn't get to yours. There are some people like they didn't challenge mine, right? So I was very surprised about that. But we're
There's
gonna
a
see where this all
deadline.
ends up.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
deadline too. They're supposed to challenge it within 3 days of the time that you submit the
exactly.
petition.
So that time's
They
that
didn't
time's over.
challenge.
That time's
Exactly.
over.
The time is over.
Exactly.
So it's
So we're gonna
up.
see what's up.
It's up.
Okay.
So the
So
other thing is, if I get in as mayor, like I said before, everyone gets in. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
okay. So now all the questions that I have for the cancer are pretty much the same. Afterwards, we will get to like kind of like more individual pieces of it, right? But the first half of the interview is me getting to know you as a candidate, and the second half of the interview is me asking about different positions that you have. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is like, how did your I read your, by the way, your website's quite fascinating. You're a PhD materials engineer, right? Other things like that. But when did you actually first become political? What's the first political kind of thing that you did?
Probably when I was in college. I went to Smith College, which is a Ivy League for the sisters. They call it the sister, one of the seven sisters, a sister Ivy League institution. It was developed after the likes of the male Harvard, Harvard-like Ivy League institutions. While I was there were a lot of issues, social justice issues that came up in the news. And I just felt compelled, along with many of the females in that school, to get involved and to voice my concerns about different things, including, I believe there was one issue where a man was shot dozens over. I mean, I think he was shot like 60 times or whatever. I forgot. It was a famous case. I forgot the details of it, but that really inspired me. It was like, why should one individual be shot with so many bullets? And that was the one thing that made me see that even criminals are not treated fairly. And that's one of the things I want to do too, is reach out to the criminals and help them and rehabilitate, give them better chances for rehabilitation. Just really quickly, I just want to tell you one of my ideas that hasn't been done is to allow.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I don't know what that is.
My connection might be yours,
Allow
but I
criminals.
lost you for a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, it might be my signal, might be yours,
Okay,
but things got choppy for a second. Go ahead.
someone tried to call me. That's why. Sorry, somebody tried to call me on Messenger, so I'm putting it on mute. Hopefully that'll work. What happened is that what I'm trying to do is, um, oh yeah, for people who are currently inmates in jail and in prison, they should have been allowed to apply for corrections officer jobs. Why not? While you are serving your time, or however many years you're serving, why not serve it on the other side of the gates, on the other side of the fence? Why not be a police officer? Why not be, even if you don't trust the criminals and you say, well, we don't want them carrying guns, fine. But why not let them have the same privileges as anyone else in society so that they can have upward advancement, not downward, into deleterious conditions. So what's happening in the prisons is they've only given the prisoners a way down, but they never gave them a way up and out. And so my initiative is to give prisoners the opportunity to qualify for and apply for jobs, including fire department jobs, whatever jobs they want. Certain places in California already, I heard from a man who works in a library nearby here, already allow for the inmates to work as fire department employees. We can allow the inmates to apply for any jobs they want. And just because you're behind bars does not stop you or preclude you from being able to take on another job.
Okay. Just now I know we're going to touch on some other parts of your policy in a moment, but really just I'm just seeing where you've kind of got started. That's good to know. How you kind of started in college. I have, that's really kind of where my acting started as well. It makes sense. The next question is going to be a lot of some candidates affiliate them with certain types of ideology. So you look at AOC, she says she's a socialist, whatever that means. You take a look at some other candidates, they might say that they represent something. I think Blake Huber, former Libertarian Party chair, said that he's trying to point something called approval voting. Now, as in terms of yourself, do you have a certain particular political ideology you follow, or maybe a faith? You seem to also be religious somehow. Do you have a particular ideology?
Yeah, so I happen to take all of the pills. So, for example, I love the red, white, and blue pill. So in America, we split up everybody. We split up the parties. We say, okay, we want only the red.
Yeah, I know the call.
Sorry
You're pretty
about that.
popular. No, it's okay. You're pretty popular. That it happens. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. We separate the blue and we separate the red, and then the white we don't even talk about. So one of my things is to bring everybody back together again. But I'm coming from the red side. So yes, I am coming from the Republican side, which is really the side of individualism. So when you talk about my political ideology, I go along with understanding what the red pill means. Matrix helps us to understand that, the movie. So
Okay.
thank God for the movie.
So
So go ahead.
now, another thing that can help us to understand a little bit more about maybe your ideology or just yourself as a person is sometimes people say, oh, you know what, I'm a Democrat, but I'm a FDR Democrat, or I'm this kind of maybe I'm a Obama Democrat or something. They'll have like different people that kind of influence them, and it might be even outside of that ideology. Before you mentioned like Mariah Carey, right? I'm not sure if she really fits into like the nonpartisan ideological framework that you were talking about before, maybe a populist framework or individual, idealistic or individual. You also talked about, I think, Juanita Bynum. But you could tell me about like who's been influential to your your personal development or your ideas, and how that's relevant towards leadership from New York City.
Yes, absolutely. So of course, people like Abraham Lincoln is someone who I look up to. Even before that, Father Abraham of the Jewish religion. And in fact, Father Abraham is the father of all of the religions around the world. But certainly, the Jewish religion is the most popular one that Father Abraham is in charge, and started. But he started all the religions. The thing about it is, all of these people play a role in who I am today, and of course, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ plays a role. So to me, I see Jesus Christ as someone to who is our Savior. Yes, Jesus Christ did come, die on the cross for our sins and everything, but at the same time, Jesus Christ gave us power. And in fact, Jesus Christ says, greater things than the things that Jesus Christ did shall we do. And Jesus Christ created the planet. Jesus Christ created the sun, the moon, the stars. So we should be able to do greater than what Jesus Christ has been able to do.
Okay,
And
quick
so that's my
question. You said that you're a Christian. Do you have a certain particular denomination you follow? I looked at your online, and it's quite interesting to see that you used to be part of, I believe, T.D. Jakes' church, but you called them out, I believe, before all this Puff Daddy stuff blew up in the news. You sensed that something was up, right? And honestly, let's be real, folks. If all these cats were involved, right, Meek Mills and stuff, like doing, activist work in Pennsylvania, right? Yeah. How come the people that I work with include the longest wrongfully incarcerated man No, I'm sorry. I've talked about the from New York State. So I'm from Pennsylvania. The first man freed on DNA evidence, Vincent Moto or Moody Ojama Saber, have never been assisted by Meek Mill's charity, right? So, good call on that. But do you have a certain particular within the Christianity? Is there a certain framework that you follow, or
Yes, I mean, I let me tell you how I do it.
Baptist, or
I
what?
read the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek Holy Bible. And yes, I'm not saying anything's wrong with the English translation, but I take the English translation with a grain of salt. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I do read the English translations, I do enjoy them, and I'm not trying to be offensive towards them. But I want people to understand that you do have to go to the original Hebrew, the original Aramaic, the original Greek to really understand and elucidate what God has been telling us all these many thousands of years.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. There's actually, even just so you know, there's Bibles where there will be like words in parentheses that are inserted by people that's not in the original Bible. One of the most common places where this happens is when they talk about where God supposedly said that it's okay to eat pork. There's a passage that they used to say it's okay. Then some scholars, some biblical scholars, you could look it up online. They literally put parentheses. They said, "Oh, this is the part where it says it's okay to eat this." Not saying that it's possible, but does it say so explicitly? And this has been kind of inserted by other people for their own reasons, which is quite disturbing. So that's just my I can agree with that, and I do agree that language also doesn't capture certain ideas. So it is also important to understand other languages and sayings. You're going to miss vital parts of what's going on there. So I really appreciate that scholarship level. Anyway,
Absolutely. And I encourage
yeah,
everyone else to do the same. And let me tell you something, reading is fundamental.
but yeah,
And And here's the thing, what I want people to understand is you can read any language you need to read. But the key is you have to understand where languages come from. And let me tell you something, every alphabet comes first from numbers and from our normal square, triangle, and circle. So if you can understand your geometry and if you can understand your numbers, you should be able to understand any language, even the ancient languages like the cuneiform and so many others that this from the Sumerians and other past civilizations who have knowledge and wisdom that we need to have access to right now and today. And we can't forget about our past, the men of our past.
yeah, that I could agree with that on a lot of different levels. But we're not really here to dig into that. We're really just here to find about you yourself and your campaign. I know that you actually believe in Juanita Bynum so much that you actually inserted her in your name. Why is Juanita Bynum, and I think it's Mariah Carey and someone else, why are these people influential to you when you're starting with Juanita Bynum?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dr. Juanita Bynum is a very well known prophetess and pastor and preacher and teacher. She struck me in my heart. That's what it really is. I believe that God communicates with us through the heart of man, the inner part of man. And all my many years, I've been communicating with God in my heart as Jesus Christ. But then Jesus Christ revealed to me personally, just like Edgar Casey, that this information that I've been getting is coming from a person on earth, and not just one person, but many people by the name of women. I'm talking about real and authentic women, wherever they may be found. And there's a whole bunch of other ideologies that started to help me to understand that. So that's why I look up to and I worship Dr. Juanita Bynum. And I think every man should consider worshiping women. And certainly start with worshiping Dr. Juanita Bynum, but then go on. What is worship anyway, right? I mean, when you think of worship, it starts with gratitude. You give thanks, you give praises, and then you worship. And the best way to worship is using your body parts, and that's devotion. So if we as men really and truly devote our body parts to our women, then we will understand, even in the Bible, I forgot the verse and chapter, but the Bible talks about how if you are devoted to your wife, that you can no longer be devoted to God, to Jesus Christ directly. So, I have the scriptures I got to find. I can get it to you later, but if you can't find it yourself, but the scriptures basically say that.
Okay. Did you also spend some time maybe in Texas? I believe Juanita Bynum is from Texas.
When I was in Texas, I was only there around Bishop T.D. Jakes. And Pastor Cheryl Brady. Pastor Cheryl Brady is who I was really around, not Bishop T.D. Jakes. So what happened
Okay.
was is that I was attending that Potter's House church, but he also has satellite churches, and the one that I attended was Pastor Cheryl Brady. She's another genius. I'm sorry about the background noise. They just started bringing this I don't know what it is, a machine around. They're doing some construction work over here, so I'm gonna walk a little bit further so that you're not hearing it. But anyway, yes. So Pastor Cheryl Brady is another pastor who I look up to. I look up to all the females, really all over the world. The mamas, our mamas. I believe we should be looking up to them.
Okay. So the next question is going to be, there's a lot of candidates who come to this game with different things that they've accomplished. What are the things that you're most proud of accomplishing?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess a sense of individuality. And I know that sounds really random. I'm not talking about a degree. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about a sense of individuality, a sense of uniqueness. Uh, the women have dealt with me to change my uniform, to change my outfits. I wear two hats. I wear these lab goggles. I carry my trumpet with me. I have little drumstick pens here. And I'm wearing an outfit here for doing construction, my tool belt. And so the women have given me a sense of individuality. And so if there's anything that I feel I value most, it's that.
Do you do street performances at all?
Yeah, I do street performances. Everywhere I go, I'll play. And I not only play with the trumpet, I play the guitar, I play the piano. So I got a lot of different things. And any of us can pick up these skills. But the thing about it is you have to wear the hat first. You got to change your uniform to fit what it is that you want to be good at.
That's cool. I'm actually one of the most comprehensive, direct. I believe I'm the most comprehensive directory for New York City street musicians on the internet. And if you go to nycstreetartist.com, you can see over 100 artists that I have promoted. And if you want to be listed on there, that would be really cool. We actually have an event coming in June,
Please
so we may
list
be
me.
working further together with that. Yeah,
Oh
cool.
yes, I'm excited. Please, I need to be networked. I need to be connected because so far, I'm trying to build those networks. There's
Yeah,
something else I want to do that we were talking a little bit about religion. I just want to put this in. I want to be in the running for Pope. I want to be in the running for Pope. Now I'm a transgender. I'm a female to male transgender, and I
okay.
believe that we have to free the Catholic Church. I feel sorry for the priests. They they feel compelled to do things that they don't really have to do. If they want to be celibate, then that's something they should want to do. But if they don't want to, they should know that God gives them a way out, and I can prove it. And if the papacy will allow me, if the people representing the papacy will allow me to come to the conclave meeting, I will let Virgin Mary, let Holy Ghost, let them be the judge that I'm the best person for the position. And I would like the advocacy groups, like the transgender groups, the gay groups, the black groups, all the groups who represent the minorities to vouch for me and to hear me out and to promote me as the best person for the job of Pope. We need a new
Now I do have a
face.
quick question. But before, I think that you said you were affiliated with some Protestant churches, right? Pentecostal or whatever.
That's
And this
right.
other church seems to be, but we know the Catholic Church. Um, now, I was actually like more in Seventh day Adventist, which actually takes a very fierce stance against Catholicism. But there is, even if there isn't that huge, like, direct confrontational thing, which isn't always like put out there, there is a significant divide, especially as in terms of like the Pope representing potentially Jesus on earth. I don't know if you, how do you feel about that? Are you,
I feel it's true. I feel it's true, but it's not just the Pope. It's you and me. Remember, Jesus Christ told us, greater things than these shall we do. Not only that, Jesus Christ said, if there's anything on earth that you want, just put his name to it. Now, if I'm
okay?
signing Jesus Christ's name, that means that's my name now.
That's interesting. So I just do want to refocus question once again, right? Those are actually quite interesting things, and those are quite ambitious things. And I give you props on, setting a vision that high. But what are the things that you've already accomplished that you're proud? This is really to let
Right.
people understand, right? What, because
Yes,
everybody has a dream, but what have you actually accomplished that shows your level of expertise and knowledge of this job?
that's right. So First of all, I just want to say this real quick, that being Jesus Christ is a gift for us. So that's just what I'm going to say. What have I done? Well, I talk to the people. That's the number one thing that I think no one ever does. I mean, I know a lot of times that the politicians come out and they come out when it's time for election. That's when they talk to the people. But I'm always talking to the people. I'm always in the ghetto. I'm always in the hood. I'm always in the rich, wealthy places too. I'm everywhere, and I'm acting everywhere. What do you want to see? You are also senators. You are also mayors. You are also House of Representatives. What do you want to see in government? What do you want to see? You're also the comptrollers. You're also the public advocates. What do you want to see? So I think my biggest accomplishment is I talk to the very people who I'm supposed to represent so I can
I
hear what
appreciate
they
that.
want.
All right. Is there a particular field where you feel like you have the most expertise on? Like some people are, specialists in real estate. Other people are specialists like in housing or maybe criminal justice reform. What are really your specialties? What do you bring to this, as a candidate that's unique?
For me, logic, math, and science. Listen, I've been working on math and science for as long as I can remember. I've been reading for as long as I can remember. And one of the things I've learned is that when we put those two together, reading, math, and science, we can do amazing things. Technology is not just a scientific thing. If you look at the root for the word technology, you find that art and crafts and Jesus, or another way to say it, sorry, let me say it one more time because it's ironic that today they're doing so much work. But it's good. It's good. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. It's good to be doing work around this place. But anyway, when you look up the word technology, if you just look up the different parts, tech, no, and logi, it's arts and crafts with the word. Arts and crafts with the words that we read, the words that we speak. Arts and crafts with Jesus Christ, which is logi. So and low G, if you just think of that word, if we just say LOW and then G, I'm just misspelling it right now. But that sounds like grace that's been brought low to us, right? The G word is grace. So I forgot the question again. What was the question again?
Well, that's okay. Yeah, we're focusing on your achievements, right? A lot of people say they have this idea or that idea, they have, but really, we're looking to see what you've actually accomplished, and allowing us to really differentiate from other
Oh,
candidates, right?
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a lot of ideas, right? That I want to see researched. So, for example, stem cells. We've already been able to, and I'm talking about us as a society, as mankind, has been able to do so many things with stem cells. We've been able to, for example, give a mouse a the human immune system. So we can give a mouse a human immune system. Why can't we fix the organs in human beings? So there are ways to do that using stem cells. There's other research that I want to do with regards to building, like I said before, over at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Like I said, I'm into astrophysics. I'm into, all kinds of nuclear physics and stuff like that. So one of the things I want to see us do is I want to teach people, and I want us to teach ourselves how to build another planet Earth. Not just looking for another planet Earth for signs of life, but let's rebuild this another identical Earth or something near identical to it. So we can do that. We are planet builders.
Okay.
One thing I want to tell you is if God is real, if there really is a creator, then a creator creates creators. A creator inspires other people to create, just like that creator did. A real God is not going to sit up there and do all the building for you and then tell you, now go out there and just exist in this in all the work I've done. Eventually that God is going to reveal herself and say, you know what? I'm going to teach you how to do everything I've been able to do and more. And
I
so
understand.
that's
Okay.
one of the things I want to do in
Let
the
me
lab.
ask you some questions for my. The thing is that now I've asked questions about yourself. Now I'm going to ask some questions about for policy. I'm going to ask actually first about my. I have a lot of people that I work with. I don't know if you've seen it in my work, but I have a lot of large groups that I work with, a coalition. So I'm going to ask the questions pretty much usually go in the same order. So I'm going to ask first about Fulham Chelsea Houses is actually a public housing development in Chelsea, which is actually facing imminent demolition. because they're actually trying to create new, some new housing units. We know that public housing, puts people that, that are elderly, that are disabled, sometimes veterans, and protect their most vulnerable. And I've seen your platform, by the way, which I just will actually share on the screen right quick, see if I still have that. Let's see, Kris Lord. But what's your plan for? Would you support these stopping the demolition of Fulton Chelsea houses?
Absolutely. I understand what they're going through. It's very hard to do. And, if we do, we want to find out what the people want. If they want better housing, we can get them something better. If they want the existing housing to stay and they just want us to fix what's there, then let's just listen to the people and give them what they want. So my job is to make people's lives comfortable and to give people the initiative to build the lives they want to build.
Okay.
And I want to help them to build not only here, but like I said before, on another planet if possible. And so I want people to have multiple dwellings. And I want it to be cheap to travel to other planets. Just like it's just as cheap as it is to jump on a bus to go to the next neighborhood. I want it to be cheap like that to travel to another planet, especially some of these planets that have diamonds that we can mine. I mean, these planets have so many precious metals and precious resources that we can mine. Everyone can be rich. Why just make it where only the top 1% has 99% of the wealth when what we can do is make sure the 99% have all of the wealth and we can all live like kings. So that's
You
my
know,
goal.
and right here on your, if you go to Dr. Kris Lord, Kris Lord.wixsite.com, and I will put that in the, I will pin that in the comments below. You could see that your housing program here has been consistent, right? Before you said you want to introduce federal programs that will provide houses for the homeless and low to mid income families, and help the federal government pay off debts for the ownership. So you do believe in Republican ideas of self ownership, but you are actually trying to take care of poor people, which is pretty cool. So, like I said before, I did a little bit of research, and I saw some similarities. So you
Exactly.
are consistent too. So I
And
appreciate
here's the thing, I don't want to force someone to do something they don't want to do. If a person wants to stay living on the street, then stay there. But if the person wants, because you know what, some people
You
just like that type
understand.
of life. You know
So
what I
many
mean?
people who've never been homeless don't understand that.
They
I'm
don't
glad you
understand
understand
it.
that.
I've been around enough homeless people and I've talked to them. Some do not want your help. They want to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. No, let them, but let's give them the jobs that they need so that they can go on and do what it is they want to do. They are individuals. Some of these people who are homeless, a lot of them, the reason why they're homeless is because they feel left out. And maybe the reason why they feel left out is because they feel unique and they feel a great conscience on their minds that they don't fit into society as it is. So let's give them a way to fit in, and let's not put so much, you know, requirements on them that they have to live in the housing we provide. They have to do it our way. Let's hear from them. What is your way out of your situation? How can I help you? What is your idea?
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So we'll hopefully have another town hall with some other. There's actually one happening this weekend on Saturday. Maybe you'll attend it. We'll see. I'm going to go into the next one though. The next partner that I work with is the wrongfully incarcerated. I actually work with New York State's longest wrongfully incarcerated man, Otis Johnson, as well as other people that have been wrongfully incarcerated, including Reverend Keith Gadsden and Nolan Farrell. We know that recently Robert Brooks died in police custody. He was beat on camera in front of the cops. That was wild. Um, would you support justice for? Would you support? Now we know a lot of people put down Republicans all the time. Now the fact is that we know that in Texas that Republicans do actually have a high, the death rate. Whether they do kill a lot of prisoners. However, Texas is also number one in terms of exonerating, criminals. Right. So when they mess up, they'll be honest about it. They're more likely to be honest. Not only that, but they also have the best compensation program for people that have been wrongfully incarcerated, which I think is kind of low. $50,000 per year of wrongful incarceration. I mean, that seems really low, but that's the best in the country. So Would you support a justice for the wrongfully incarcerated, immediate exoneration, and also compensation for people that have been wrongfully incarcerated?
Absolutely, because let me tell you something. I'm a criminal's friend. I happen to be a criminal because I have two misdemeanors arrests that I acquired from Bishop T.D. Jakes. So if there's anything I want to thank him for, it's that, for making me into a criminal. Because at that point, I became a ward of the state of Texas. And as a result, when and I also became a ward of the state of Texas through my mental illness. Um, and not only that, I became a ward of the state of New York for my mental illness and the city of New York. And so being a ward is one of the reasons why I can say I'm the mayor in my title. It has to do with the fact that when you're a ward of the state, they have to keep you, protect you, and keep you safe. Make sure that you're safe. So the thing about it is that as mayor, for Kris Lord, they can do that for me, but they can't do that for Eric Leroy Adams who he is right now, because he's not a ward of anything for mayor. He never was convicted of anything as a criminal or anything. The reason why I'm mayor is because I'm bipolar. So bipolar people have different poles that they travel between. So they can either be hot or they can be cold. So I can have one personality one moment, the next moment I can have a whole nother personality, which is why I can take on more positions. Which is what one of my plans is. Ugh, there's a lot of confusion going on with the mayor situation right now. But the issue is that the mayor is supposed to be the CEO of New York City, which means that is the highest ranking position of the city. However, the way it's working right now, Eric Leroy Adams is not the highest ranking official. In fact, the comptroller ranks higher than him because the comptroller is in I forgot the name of I think it's called the Inability Committee, which can remove the mayor for certain reasons that they find, including the council's office is part of that group. So the council's office is above the mayor. So there's a lot of different positions in which the governor of the state of New York is above the mayor. So I found a way to make sure that I'm protected. So either I be, right, any of the men who are in positions above me, that means I take on their personality as a bipolar. And the second thing would be I be with any of the women who are above me. That means spousal privilege. So
Okay.
as long as I'm bipolar and in my mind it's real, a doctor will vouch for me in the court of law.
A lot of people will hear some of the things that you said and get turned off by it or turn away. But just so you know, people that are actually poor, like myself, have to learn to work with other people might discard. And the thing is that we can find a lot of value in other people that, the thing is that Dr. Kris Lord over here will have a lot of experiences that other people won't, which will be valuable, right?
And
So,
and and I'm crazy.
yeah.
It's okay to be crazy. My campaign slogan is crazy people deserve love too. And the idea is if we give love to the crazy people, maybe they won't push us in front of an oncoming train.
Well, let's
If we
see.
treat them right.
Yeah, your connections within within other, within the poor community and within communities that have been, marginalized and pushed aside. Being a ward of the state, you're going to meet other wards of the state who are, sometimes there are people that are whistleblowers. Sometimes there are people there that have been, wrongfully incarcerated. So, you're really living amongst probably the same type of, people in abject poverty that I have been coming across. So, a lot of our, I do not have mental illness, but I do actually, have a lot of the same conclusions from
That's
living
right.
through this experience. So I just, and I can see the value in someone who understands those systems. Once again, a lot of times we just see that the only people that's consulted are the doctors or the experts, not people that have actually been served by the system. This is rampant in so many different aspects of activism. So really appreciate your, for the people that want to once again dismiss your experience, or I think it's very rare to hear someone with your experience. So I think that there's some value there. So thank you for participating. All right.
Absolutely. And it all stems from not being afraid to confide in others about my vulnerabilities. And the truth of the matter is, we all have vulnerabilities. For example, if any of us use the bathroom on a daily basis, which we do, that's a very vulnerable place to be, to air out your dirty laundry, your dirty drawers. And so I recommend that everybody at some point address it, even comedically, address your dirty underwear. Just let it out, because when you confide in others about your most intimate details, guess what? You build confidence, and confidence is needed to overtake the globe. It's needed to overtake the universe. It's needed. I want to colonize the universe. If we're going to colonize the universe, we need to have some confidence.
Yeah, and you know what the another thing that I just want to just mention before I just head on is that you use certain terms like criminal, bipolar, things like that. A lot of people will be turned off by those things. But just so you know, a lot of these definitions are applied by others onto us. So
Yes. And not
the
only
thing
that,
is
they
that
are
yeah,
criminals too.
yeah,
What does it mean to be a criminal? It just means to operate above the law.
yeah,
Anyone who is in a position of power is operating above the law. You have to be in order to judge the people under the law. So all I'm
exactly,
doing, you know what I
exactly.
mean? All I'm
Yeah,
doing is
so they
saying,
said Trump is a felon. They say that
hello,
Biden's actually They say Bush is a war criminal. They say
see?
that Biden's actually also a criminal, and his son is too, who he gave a pardon to. So it's easy to apply that she says she's a criminal and dismiss what Kris has to say. But if you really think about it, a lot of the top leaders in the United States are actually technically criminals as well. So
That's right. And they have
yeah,
immunity. We've learned that the president has immunity.
yeah. So exactly, exactly. So
There you go.
before you dismiss, I just want to throw that out there. Just I think that there's still something worth listening to, and also it's impossible to win in a democracy or republic without coalition. So we got to find a partner if we can find them, and maximize our value from each interaction. So thanks again for participating. All right, so the next group that I'm going to ask about is the thing is that right now I work with the disabled, and the thing is that right now there's something called the Helen Keller Institute, which actually serves the deafblind. And the thing is that the Helen Keller Institute has never had actually anybody who's actually deafblind in an executive position in their organization. So they say they're for the deafblind community, but we don't see any real true authentic representation. And remember before you said about like giving some people might have said that that's crazy, right? Letting the prisoners actually, and I could see some concerns there, but I can also see some value to it too. The people that are actually affected by the system having a voice in the system, right? That's how you stop things like Robert Brooks from happening, right? Because I'm sure people were making complaints before, but people just turned it over, dismissed it, right? People that actually are being impacted by the system need to have a voice. So it might sound crazy at first, but this is a recurring issue in activism. Very deep once again. You might say you're crazy, but I think you're making a lot of sense. So I know, being trans, I know Republicans are not necessarily very sympathetic to that, but I am. And maybe I'm really excited to find you. And maybe we can work together. So we're going to keep going on here. So once again, the people with would you support authentic representation for people with disabilities?
Absolutely. I, being
Yeah,
a person with disability, understand exactly what people are going through. All they need are what we call reasonable accommodations. That's all they need. So, what we need to do is just talk to the people who have the disabilities and find out what they need from us in order to be able to do their job effectively. And then we just go on and provide it for them, make it a comfortable workplace for them and a safe workplace for them, so that they can do the same things that anyone else can do. And the sky is not even the limit. I would say the universe is the limit. So whatever it is that they want to do, let's work with them. Let's put our thinking caps on. Let's not be so quick to, I'm, as a disabled person, I know firsthand what it's like to be rejected for jobs just because I'm disabled, just because I'm bipolar, just because I'm crazy, even though I have such great ideas. Let's put our thinking caps on and let's stop being so limited. Let's stop being so retarded. No offense. But let's use our brains for once in our lives and find ways to accommodate each other rather than to exclude each other.
Okay. Another question I'm going to ask about is okay. So right now, we recently did an event at Columbia University. We've also, I think this is the first year that CUNY students have actually had something. Well, it wasn't with the CUNY students, but there's a mayoral forum, right? Now the thing is that CUNY has been found through their own internal reports, state reports, to have been involved in a lot. There's a lot of missing money being used for lobbying and other illegal purposes. So we've been. I already have the several U.S. presidential candidates and also a bunch of candidates from this cycle that have agreed to ask for a public meeting between myself and the CUNY chancellor and the Hunter University president. Would you also? Well, Corey Edens used to be involved with that, but she actually, decided to back out of activism after facing some type of difficulties. So, which is understandable. But would you support a public meeting between myself and the CUNY chancellor and the Hunter University president,
Can I tell you
asking questions
something?
about accountability?
Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
I support you being the chancellor. Okay, listen, what we're
All
gonna
right.
do. Listen, what we're gonna do is I'm replacing a whole lot of these people at the top echelons of government and private seats as well. In the city of New York, I have to be the chief executive. That means no one could be above me, not even at CUNY. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm the one they answer to for anything that goes on out there. So yes, you have a seat at the table. You can be the table. You can be the feet under the
I
table. I
appreciate
don't
that.
care what you are.
I
We're
appreciate
bringing
that.
you in. I'll bring a 5-year-old girl to the table too. I don't care. We are
Yeah.
opening up.
Well, hopefully by having by many candidates sign on to this particular, trying to get this meeting with the chancellor and the Hunter University president, we can help make that happen. We have
Yeah, there's
significant
no reason why they should be
support for
so
this.
afraid. There's no reason why they should be afraid unless they're dumbasses. They have to be, I'm sorry to say, but they have to be dumb to be afraid of you. No offense. And I'm not saying that you're a bad person or you're a good person or anything, but I'm just saying that they something is wrong with them to be afraid to talk. And if they have a fear of talking, they need to go. I need them out because what I don't need are a bunch of lazy people sitting up at the top, taking up space when we need real workers on the ground who understand how things work on the ground who need to be at the top too.
And this is so right. This is so prevalent, not just also in academia, but also in homeless shelters, and so many different, right? Even policing, right? You see this type of lackadaisical approach happens in so many
Oh
different
no,
places
oh no.
across
As
America.
mayor, I'm taking over.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm taking over every aspect of society. You will see my face, CUNY.
Okay.
You will see I don't care who you are, Harvard, I don't care who you are, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania, everybody gonna see my face and they're gonna know my face and they're gonna remember me because I am the Antichrist. I am Jesus Christ and the Antichrist all in one. I'm not afraid of no devil because I am the devil. I'm not afraid of God because I am God. And I'm coming for every one of them.
I understand. All right. So, shout out to Christopher Leon Johnson, the most prolific, I believe, New York City reporter in history. He's does like 3, 4 events a day, many days, and I think he covers more events than anybody else. I asked him which topic he felt was most important to really address during this election cycle, and he said e-bike regulation. You also know that e-bikes also sometimes be lighting on fire, stuff like that. That's his, shout out to his work. I respect his volume of work. So, what do you think about e-bikes? There's some people that are I also understand people need to use it too, right? But sometimes
Right.
the batteries are catching on fire.
Yes.
Sometimes the people feel like they're a nuisance, or they're actually the bike lanes change now. The people that are on the pedal bikes sometimes feel scared of the electric bikes.
Right.
What do you right? Sometimes electric bikes get into accidents,
That's
and
right.
people want licensing for them. Sometimes not. What are your positions on e-bikes?
We can't let our fears stop our progression. All we have to do is make the batteries safer. So there's ways to do it. How about we use the ideas of trees? Trees receive power from the sun, and they're not exploding all over the place spontaneously or anything like that. So if we, this is some of the research that I'd like to look into. How do we make things safer? There's ways to do it. We got to look into micro electromechanical machining. We don't do that enough. So a lot of times we think on a very bulk level because we're used to Newtonian physics, which is a lot more easier for us to understand because we relate to it. But we also need to understand more the quantum world. And I don't think we have a very good grasp of what's happening on the small dimensions, the nano dimensions. I want to help us to understand what's going on there better so we can make these bikes and other electronic devices that we use, all these different artificial intelligent devices that we use. We want to make them more safer.
Yeah, I'm actually a scientist myself, so I do appreciate when you talk about Newtonian physics versus quantum physics. I do understand what you're talking about. Um, and when you talk about vectors and stuff like that, and like movement and things like that, that's a lot of times considered Newtonian physics. But in the quantum physics, sometimes things don't operate on the same rules. So actually, I think Einstein died trying to create a unified theory between Newtonian physics and quantum physics, which still hasn't been achieved to this day. And it's actually
We're
one of the
gonna
great
do it.
questions of science.
We're gonna do it. We're
Yeah.
gonna do it together. The thing
So
about it is, let's not just focus on one man anymore. Let's focus on all the men. Let's bring all men together. All men are created equal. That's what we believe, right? If that's
yeah.
true, then you're an Einstein too. I'm an Einstein too. We're all Einsteins, and we can figure this out together if we'll just put our thinking caps on and stop sitting up here saying, "I can't talk to you." We need to have the discussion with each other.
Okay. Another question I'm going to ask about, and this is actually quite interesting once again, because I believe that you do have more experience with homelessness or that community than other candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, in Brooklyn, Chinatown, the largest and longest mobilization of Asian Americans in New York City history has occurred, and they flipped from blue to red. The New York State Senate district down there flipped from blue to red after just one term because of a homeless shelter that was built or it was planned to be built in their community. Would you support the well, I do think there's more things about it, right? I think that there's a certain amount of redlining going on under the guise of compassion. They will be putting, I think there's already 8 homeless shelters in Manhattan, Chinatown already. And having been in homeless myself several times, when the people are in the shelter and they come out and nobody speaks English, a lot of times the homeless shelters have programs to try to help people find jobs and all this other kind of thing. But it's really not a great community for them to be dropped off into because it just doesn't make sense. They can't communicate with the people around them. So it's not helping the people. The people can't take advantage of potentially, a new labor force. They just get frustrated, right? The people So would you support the people in Brooklyn that are actually trying to fight against the building of a shelter in the neighborhood without their involvement or real input?
Right. Well, here's my thing. Let's build homes, not homeless shelters. So we can build more homes for them. I'd like to see more condos up. We don't have enough condos that we're building. A lot of the focus has been on rental. And, rental units really should be for the wealthy. For someone who's just passing by or passing through New York City, that's who the rentals are really for. Let's have the homes for the people who want to live here permanently. So if we build more homes like condos and all the different types that exist, I think we'll be more efficient. So I support I understand what they're saying. I don't want to see another homeless shelter up. I don't even think the homeless people like it. I've talked to homeless people and they have told me they don't like to go to homeless shelters because they feel like people steal their stuff. So, and not that they feel like that's what's happening. They also feel like the food isn't great. It's not good. We need to give them a better standard of living. Let's make it mansions. You know what I mean? We're going to let's build mansions, and then maybe the people in that neighborhood will want to move in. And so, let's stop thinking on such a low level. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we
Yeah,
have the money and the capability to think on a much higher level if we want to.
I agree with that so much. Yeah, I wish they could have more programs to teach people how to do repairs in their own home, how to
That's
fix up
right.
homes, things like that, right? And actually take ownership of it instead of always being on their government system where their executive friend is getting paid $400,000 a year, right, to
That's
keep
right.
people on eternal poverty.
That's
It's a
right.
trap.
Because
Yeah,
there's a benefit to the 1% to keep the 99% poor. But
yeah.
I'm going to change that. The 99% are going to have the wealth of the 1%, and the 1% are going to have the wealth of the 99%. That's my promise.
Okay,
The 99%. That's my
appreciate
promise.
that. Okay,
Whoever the
another group
1%
that
is,
I
if you're so good at building your empire of wealth, then you should be able to do it again.
Okay. Another group that I actually have been working with is the trans community. And the fact of the matter is that we know that trans people face a lot of discrimination in the job We know that we face a lot of discrimination, just like in housing. So the thing is that I'm going to give you a hypothetical question here. Let's suppose that 10% of the people applying for public housing are trans, and then we do a study and we find that only 1% of the people in public housing actually are trans. So we see this kind of like a huge disparity. Um, this is a hypothetical question. I'll explain to you why it's hypothetical in a moment. But you see this big gap in the numbers. How would you go about trying to solve or fix this issue?
You mean awareness as to who is trans and who is not?
Well, okay, that's part of the question as well too, right? Because that could also be changed. But the another factor that also factors into this whole equation is some people might say that you know let's take if the trans people. So we ask the trans people why they're not why they feel like this is happening. They're saying we're getting beat up in our homes, stuff like that, right? People are leaving unpleasant messages for us, so they say that they moved out. So sometimes people might say, "Oh, you know what? Let's put all the trans people in one building." But if you did that to black people, then people would say, "You know what? That's creating a ghetto,"
Right,
and you know what I mean. You're really kind of like that's not really an appropriate solution. Other
right.
people might say, just so you know, I've asked this question for like people all over the country, and almost nobody says that they're for quotas, right? But that's like look at the numbers, 10% versus 1%. But
Wait,
if
that
we
they're
look at
for
the
what?
Medicaid,
You said
remember
no
I
one
said
says.
the hypothetical was that 10% of the people applying for public housing are trans, but only 1% of the people in public housing are actually trans, right?
Oh, I see
So
what you
there's
mean. So 9%
there's this
think
large
they're
discrepancy. So how
right,
do you go about solving that issue,
right,
right? And another thing, just so you know, is before I was telling you that we see that there's a discrepancy at Medicaid in order to assure that there's not racial discrimination going on, has people check mark a box in your Medicaid application as to what race you are, so the government can track to see if there's discrimination going on. But also, if people are filling out an application, they say, "Oh, you know what? I'm actually trans, or I'm actually whatever," right? Then they may face additional discrimination instead of being helped by it. I think you've actually seen the system being weaponized against people it says it's supposed to help. So,
right.
how are you going to how are you going to ensure fairness in housing, especially public housing, government services for trans people?
Everyone is going to get placed. That's what I'm going to promise. Listen, if people need housing, we can get it to them. When we had the migrant crisis, and we still do, we found places for them. How are we able to find places for people from Venezuela and from Chile and from, I mean, God knows where, you know, South Africa, but we don't have a place for the people who are born here or who've been living here for a long time. So we're going to have places for them too. Thank you for your labor and your work.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, if we can't take care of the people at home, how are we going to take care of the people overseas? That makes complete sense to me.
Hello. So we've already we found places so we can find more places. So it's just an excuse not to do the job. But that's not going to happen under my watch anymore.
I really appreciate that. Okay. So now that I've asked those questions,
And can I just say this? The White House has many rooms. So we're going to move them in there. I'm not playing. I'm very serious. If we can't find you your own place, then we'll move you into my places. Wherever I'm at, you are.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Are there other topics that you also like? You may have other topics that you feel are that you may have more expertise in, right? We know that the city takes care of, right, the police. They take care of education. They take care of fire, right? With the federal government takes care of the military, right? So that's not really under this jurisdiction. But as in terms of this, you know, um, this race, what's your best network of people, or as in
Right.
terms of like support for your run? Is it
That's a
locally
good
there in
point.
Brooklyn, or go ahead?
I think my biggest network is me, myself, and I. No offense, it's just been that way. You know, I've been quite an individual person, and I've been mostly like a hermit for quite some time. But one of the things I've tried to do is to be honest with people. So at the very least, I do make my public social media pages. Like you said, I put all my stuff out there. I put all the information I want people to know, which is everything, out there. And I even get intimate with people. So, that's my goal, is to get intimate with people. Um, So yeah, I mean, if I could tell you what my expertise is, I'm a jack of all diamonds, a jack of all trades. I'm like a joker. You'll find me. I'm the trump card. You'll find me anywhere. So and the same for you. I believe that if you can speak on an issue, if you can read on an issue, then you can do professional work on that issue. Why? Because there are the white collar workers and there are the blue collar workers, and you happen to be like me, a white collar worker as well as a blue collar worker. And what I want to do is I want to bring those two together. I want us all to, I want the people who are blue collar workers to experience what it's like to be a white collar worker. I want the white collar workers to experience what it's like to be a blue collar worker. So, you know, that's what I'm looking towards. I'm looking towards bringing all of us together. Basic my basic focus has mostly been on being a white collar worker. You understand? Because I've been working in the lab and I've been working in the manufacturing industry for technology, and most of the time I'm using my thoughts. But what I'd like to do is also, which I've begun doing as well, is use my body parts as well, and that's why I do the instruments and I have a hammer, so I do plumbing and things like that. So I'm learning how to take on as many trades as possible. So I think all of us can remember and learn trades.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So, look, I showed people the website earlier, the one about you running for president. Do you have one for mayor, or do you just like have a personal one, or do you have social media? How can people
Right.
find out more about your campaign and work with you?
Yes. Well, I have a donation page. Um, it's at gofundme.com/F/WCREEP. If they can go there and donate, that would be great.
Okay.
Besides that, and that's really just not, that's just towards me, for my personal benefit. But I put a lot of my ideas up there as to, what I want to do for mayor. I also have a Facebook page at Dr. Kris Lord. That's DrKrislord. I have let's see, I have a TikTok that says Mayor Kris Lord, I believe. MAYORKRISLORD.
If you can
So,
actually put the links below, right? Yeah, in the comments, I'll actually after this is over, then I'll actually pin that and make sure it stays there, so all your
okay,
social
good.
media links can be there for the public.
Okay,
And
good. Yeah, let me send that to you.
now that people have this information, do you have anything coming up? Anything for people to look forward to? I think
Um,
maybe an election, a fundraiser event, maybe
right.
go ahead.
Not yet, but right now I'm in the back room right now trying to contact different advocacy groups. So just expect to hear from me because I'll be contacting you. This is my phone number, 929-365-6267. Anyone who's interested in what I said can call me. I don't care who you are. It's just that sometimes people might call me while I'm busy, but if I don't get to you right away, I'll get to you eventually. You can text me at that number. That's my personal cell phone number. So I'm available to any and all.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually do expect to have some stuff coming up with you quite soon. Like I said, this Saturday there's actually something going on at Douglas Houses with Carmen Quinones, probably the best known tennis association president in all of New York City public housing. That's going on this Saturday. And we also have a town hall coming up on childhood education, the number one expenditure of the New York City budget, more than police, fire, and prisons combined. That should come on May 17th. And I think in June, we also have our Street Artist Award and Showcase event, where you may actually be participating as well. I think we already have an agreement from Roger Green, who actually is on roller skates in Michael Jackson's Bad video. And we're talking, I don't know if you know She Dance, but we're also talking to her about possibly being a part of this event as well, too. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind me having me there, I would love to be there. Just
Yeah.
please
Oh,
send me the
no.
details and I will show up.
You're politically minded. You fit right in. And also, just Reverend Keith Gatson, one of the longest wrongfully incarcerated men in New York State history. I think 32 years of wrongful incarceration. Freed by the longest serving New York State senator in New York City history, is also probably being going to be a part of that. 12 Vales, shout out to 12 Vales. She's a very involved member of the community. I am doing things. We'll see. We'll see if I make it. I'm also going to court tomorrow. But don't worry about that. 12 Vales, you already came with me once. We're going to see where this ends up. Okay, so thanks again for watching, folks. I'm very excited to talk with Dr. Kris Lord. We'll see if we can get some other things going for some of the plans I have coming in the future. Any last words you want to say to my audience?
I just want to say God bless you all And I want to say I give all my praises and worship to Dr. Juanita Bynum, Dr. Mariah Carey, and Dr. Kendra G for making this a successful broadcast.
Yeah, we're going to be moving further definitely with this business right here. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Okay, bye now.
Okay, I'm just going to hit end stream. That'll be just us. Give me a second. Okay, so now